Hey, how's it going? So I thought I would take a second and talk a little bit about what it's like living with SPD, schizoid personality disorder. Um, and it's kind of hard to describe really because there's not really much to explain. I mean, there's just like nothing inside. Like you feel not much of anything towards anything. So um, emotions just from the outside would look like it's non-existent. You would come off as like really cold or kind of like a butthole. um, but like you'd be in a group of people or something and they'll like make a joke and you're like, ah, yeah, that's funny, but on the inside you're just like, ah, I want to go home now. Like there's just you're not like offended or you don't really, maybe even some of them don't even hate being around people. It's just there's like no real point to doing anything. Everything just seems so dull. At least that's what it's like for me. Kind of like I use this video coloring for. It's kind of like a metaphor um, for like the lack of color in everything. I mean, even my last relationship lasted like it was around 5 years. And it was just I really didn't feel much of anything, and that's actually what ended up with us breaking up was yeah, I'm pretty much just a wall, and it's like ah, you can't. That's pretty much how it is. There's just pretty much nothing. There's very few things that I can actually care about. Like music was a big part of my life for a long time. I just write and record all the time. But now, I mean, I even have my guitar just sitting right there. But I mean, there's just no joy in really playing it anymore. I do it because I'm decent at it, but it's one of the few things I'm good at. But there's not real much joy in anything. I have a lot of ideas and stuff will sound cool to me. It's like, oh yeah, I want to do that, but then, like, say I'll have time to actually do that activity or whatever it is I wanted to do, and I'll end up just laying in my bed thinking about it. Not actually doing it because it just doesn't seem that fun to me or that interesting. I'd rather be. Well, I can't say I'd rather be in my room, but it wouldn't make a difference to me if I was out like in a big crowd of people at a party or at a bar or something, or if I was just laying in my room doing absolutely nothing. I would have the exact same emotional presence, if that's what you want to call it. Like the way I feel right now is exactly how I would feel. Well, this is a weekend. Right now it's a Saturday, and I can hear people outside and stuff having fun. But like, yeah, I'm totally content sitting right here. I've had friends invite me places. I was actually supposed to go to the gym with a friend this morning, but I overslept. That was my fault. But yeah, it's just no. It's not good or bad. There's just not really anything there. So meeting a person with it, or like living with it myself, it's easier to spot the kind of mannerisms that people with it have, and it's easier to help people deal with it because I know a couple of people that are dealing with something similar. Um, so, like from the outside, like if you were to know somebody with it, you wouldn't really know that they had it unless they either told you or something because they're just like I can speak from experience. You can just adapt so easily to any situation. Like you can laugh at a joke and nobody will know you didn't think it was funny, or you can, if you're super introverted like I am, you could go to a bar and be the center of attention, like the party animal. That's what everybody would say. Nobody would know that you're not enjoying yourself. That you don't really want to be there. So it gets kind of hard sometimes. It's like you're trapped by nothing because the world has no depth, no meaning. It's just kind of existence, kind of like you're floating. It feels like you're trapped in a cage that's made out of nothing, and in a lot of ways, I think that's worse because you can't run from nothing. Like there's nothing to beat, there's nothing to escape from. There's just nothing, and that's what's trapping you. And it's suffocating. It's really hard to describe, but it's suffocating not having any. I can't say you don't have emotions because occasionally there are things that do make me happy for a little while, but then I'll fall out of it. Like a TV show I'll get into for a while, and then after it's over, Well, I guess that's the same way for everybody. I can't use that for an example, but um, like I'll go back to the guitar. I did it for a while, and every time I get an idea for a good song, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'll start recording it, and then I'll just stop because I get bored. Or like video games, like I have to do something extremely engaging and challenging that challenges your mind, or I will fall out of it instantly. Like the game League of Legends. The games are only like an hour long, which is about how my uh, emotional attention span is really. So like those games are fine. I can play strategy games like that or board games even because they don't last for a long time and they don't require so much, not a real long time. I don't want to say commitment, but that feels like the right word. You're playing chess with somebody. That's perfect because you have to think about every move is different. Every game is different. It's not the same. You're doing something different and it's challenging your brain. So it's like for me anyway, stuff like that can draw me in. So I can't say that I don't have, emotions because I do. It's just very, very hard to show them. Very, they're rare pretty much. So like, even when I'm hanging out with my friends, every smile, every laugh, like just acting like you're having it's all fake. It's that pressure that I was talking about earlier, being trapped in a cage, just like having to hide behind a mask that doesn't exist. That it just feels like nothing is real, like the world is fake. So it's you kind of question it sometimes. And like I know it sounds uh, like I'm moving on to the topic of suicide or whatever, but it's not about that. It's not like, oh, I want to die. I'm not. It's not about being suicidal. People with this, I'm sure some of them do get suicidal, but it's not really like you'll see a lot of people with it maybe end up hurting themselves, like somehow getting into some kind of self harm or drinking or dangerous life activities. Racing cars, skydiving, stuff that is actually kind of fun. I've never been skydiving, but I do. I drive pretty fast. I like to drive cars like that. But it's something that gives you an adrenaline rush, living dangerously, whatever you want to call it. Those kind of life activities, like hurting yourself, just to feel something. Because I've done it before. I've been there. I've hurt myself before, and it's the fact that like that what you're doing is wrong, and it's that tension. Like you're forcing yourself to hurt yourself, right? But it's stupid. It's really stupid. And you shouldn't be doing it. And you're telling yourself to stop, but your body is not stopping. So it's that tension, and you can feel that tension. It's a substantial emotion that you're feeling, and it's good because you can actually feel something. So it's not really about suicide or anything. It's about feeling something. It brings some kind of meaning into the world that's real that you can feel, and it gets kind of hard to live with sometimes. Like I've even thought about just like leaving the world, but not because I'm like depressed or anything. It's just because I don't feel things like that. But this is all just like my take on it, my experiences from living with it. It's I don't want to say it's hard because I know that there's a lot worse things that people could be dealing with than nothing. But it really sucks not being able, like if you're dating someone, not liking them, or just because you can't, like there's no real emotion there. You're just empty, or like there's just no joy in life at all. It's a little bit depressing, like when you hear it out loud like that, but that's kind of how it is for people living with this. There's just no real enjoyment in life. A lot of them, at least in my experience, I've talked to a few of them. Most of them are introverts because it's easier when you're by yourself. You don't have to hide anything. You don't have to wear a mask that doesn't exist. You're not as trapped by the world if you're away from the world, if that makes any sense at all. So I spend a lot of time in my room. It's not because I don't like people or anything. It's just having to fake everything. You don't really have to fake life, when you're not by yourself, because I mean, if I was to be my normal what's on the inside, which is pretty much nothing, if I was to be that in the world, people would think I was depressed. They would think I'd be like a serial killer. They think, there'd be something wrong with me that I needed to talk to somebody about it. But there's not. That's just, but personality. I don't want to call it a disorder, but it's what it's called. That's what it's labeled. It's a personality disorder that I have, schizoid personality disorder, SPD. So it's just the way that you are. You can't. I just lost my train of thought. But anyways, that's just kind of my take on it, like how I feel in my experiences. But I mean, hopefully this helps some people understand it a little better, because I know a lot of my friends don't really understand it. The ones that do know. But hopefully there's somebody out there that this helps. Like if you're wondering what it is or what it's like for people living with it, it's more than likely there's not anything really wrong with them. They're just, you have to find a way to reach them, because it can be done. It's just very difficult. You have to have a lot of time and patience. A lot of time. That is the biggest thing. It takes time, as with most things. But anyways, hopefully this helps somebody out there to understand it a little better and what it's like for somebody living with it. Like I said, I have it, and some of my experiences with it. But yeah.